don't know what happened. Okay. Oh, hi. This is the Ask Dr. Renee show. Technical difficulties, this is life. Okay, so this is the Ask Dr. Renee show. If you have never watched the show before, the show is here to motivate and inspire people to live the life you deserve. Because let's face it, you only got one chance. This is it. This is not a dress rehearsal. I want to definitely say this at the beginning of this show. I attended the funeral of one of our former guests on Saturday. Now, that just sounds so strange to me because she was not my oldest guest. Not that any of my guests have been old, but she was only 36. And, but one thing I can say about Regine Straude of soiree.com was that she lived the life she deserved. And she was a true example of making sure that you enjoy every day, do what you love, because for Pete's sake, we don't know when we won't be here tomorrow. So if you would like to, you can always go back and watch that episode of the show. She was on in April of 2015. And you know where you can archive all the shows on my website or on my YouTube channel and check that out. But may she rest in peace. She was amazing. And if you get to watch the show, you'll see that she had an amazing story to tell. She had written a book. I'm praying that it will be published so that we can all read it. She wrote 2 books, actually. And I hope they're both published so we can read it. And, she actually had a stroke June 1st, right after she had attended an event, which is just so crazy. So you can see on social media where she was, and then she had a stroke that same day. So rest in peace to Regine Straude. So today our guest is the very first guest I ever had on the Ask Dr. Renee show, Elvira Guzman. And I'm so excited because she's got a new book. So at that time she had 1 book. Now she's got 2 books. And she's got her own talk show that's been on for 2 weeks now. So I watched it again today. And so I'm really excited to hear all the great things she's doing because she's really an amazing person. So welcome to the show, Elvira.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Ray. Dr. Renee, I'm so excited to be here.
So let's get into it. First of all, for those that don't know you, just give your quick 30-second of who you are.
Wow, well, I've worked in the entertainment industry for 16 years. I started working with Steve Harvey when I was 18, and I worked for him for 9 years. I went to USC, and I have degrees in law and politics, but I knew that that wasn't my purpose in life. And so I decided to stick with entertainment because I felt that I could make more of a change in television and radio than I ever could being a lawyer. So that's just a little bit about me. And like you mentioned, I've written a few books. And I speak at juvenile halls, universities, and really this is my life's work.
So, first of all, let's just start at how do you start writing a book? Because I know that I have been told, oh, you should write a book, and they act like it's so simple, but it's really not that easy. So I know that you had a hand in Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, which that was your first book that you helped write, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So how do you actually tackle writing a book?
Well, it really depends on what type of book you're writing. When I was helping Steve write Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man back when I was just 25 years old, it was a very different system. It took us months to write, edit, and actually release that book. But when I write my personal books, I actually wait for inspiration from God and I don't force it. When you have scheduled editing sessions or writing sessions, it's almost like you're trying to force yourself to give the best of you during those times. And now that I have the ability to write my own books, I wait for the inspiration and then I write, and I don't force it. Because I want all of my writing to be directly from my heart, from my soul, so that it can relate to many people. So I wait until I get those moments of inspiration, and then I drop anything that I'm doing and I start to write.
So The Blueprint was your first book, and actually I got it online, the e-reader, so I don't have a hard copy of it to hold it up. But can you tell people what that book was about?
Absolutely. So I believe that every single one of us has a blueprint that God gave to us. However, a lot of us have strayed away from our blueprint, and that's why we find ourselves suffering or in pain. And so in that book, what I do is I tell the reader that they need to follow their blueprint. And some of them, like you and I both know, they don't even know they have one. So in the book, I teach them how to create it. And like many other authors say, is that it's really hard to connect the dots moving forward, but it's so easy to connect the dots moving backwards. So if we're just to reflect and meditate on our lives to say, okay, who did God bring into my life? What mentors do I have? What kind of education did God make me get? If you start to put all of those pieces of the puzzle together, it's very easy to determine, okay, this is my purpose. This is what God wanted for me, versus us trying to figure it out on our own.
Yes. So the blueprint really was, it was almost like a guide to help you to figure out exactly what is your purpose. And then it also, you did put your story in there as well, which was really, I think, helpful to people as well, which you did in the second book as well. But how did you publish that book yourself? Because that tonight is to Tuesdays. So Tuesdays is Trep Tuesdays. So we have entrepreneurs talk about their journeys. So we just want to make sure that the entrepreneurs out there that are trying to write a book or need to write a book understand that whole process.
Yeah, well, I decided to self-publish because, as you know, a lot of the major publishing companies, if you want to write books about God, they want you to write it how they want it. Or if you're trying to write about spirituality or anything to uplift your community, and you're saying things that they don't have in their history books, then they're going to veto it automatically. And so I'm very fortunate that I do own a company, and I'm pretty successful, so I'm able to invest in my purpose, and I published it myself.
Awesome. So with publishing it yourself, how did you, because I know your book is overseas, it's in airports. So how did you go about doing that?
Well, it's really easy when it comes to my situation, because that's actually what I do for a living. I've owned my company, Elvie, which is a full publicity, consulting, branding, publishing company for over 11 years. So I've been doing this for clients for a long time. And so when I did this for people like Steve Harvey, or I helped Troy Byer, or even people like Shirley Strawberry, who's on the morning show, I realized that I already have every single thing that a major publishing company would be doing for their clients. So I decided to do it on my own. And yes, you're going to need startup money so that you could invest in your books. Research shows that for an average self-published author, or even an author with a major company, it's going to take you about 7 years to really see it come back, because books is really about word of mouth. I know when I was working with Steve Harvey and his book in HarperCollins, they thought selling 10,000 copies was an astronomical number, yet to me that's nothing. To me, I feel if you write a book that can relate to people's soul, which is something that we all have in common, then you have the potential to reach every single person on this earth. So for me, it's worth it to invest my own money and then wait for my return. Because as you know, when you do God work, you don't put out money to receive. You just put out because that's what God told you to do.
Awesome. So the second book, I was flying. I've told this story online many times now. I was flying from Chicago to LA. I slept, I watched TV, and I literally read this book from cover to cover. And I really don't think the flight's that long. And I never would say I'm a fast reader. I'm actually quite a slow reader, if you ask me. So I was just, I could not put it down. And as soon as I got to baggage claim, I texted Elvira and was like, I just read the whole book. Oh my God, this book is so good. I, of course, as most people know, I know my purpose. I am an awakened, I know, but this book for a lot of people, I think will be so beneficial. So where did this one, I'm sure God told you, but how did you put this one together? This is really amazing.
Okay, so you know my first book, it took me 2 days to write that book, and it was a spiritual experience. This book, Dr. Renee, I cannot tell you how I wrote it. I know that I had 3 writing sessions, but it was almost like I was in a trance. Like God took over my soul, my shell, and wrote it through me, because I don't remember. I don't have memory of writing it. When I read it, I'm surprised and I'm inspired and I'm awakened. And this is something that I go through in order to get inspiration. So I can't tell you exactly how it happened, but what I do know is that it was something that needed to happen almost immediately. Within the first week, Khloe Kardashian, Rob Kardashian, Kylie Jenner were promoting it on their social media. And I didn't even know that I was on a plane also. And as soon as I landed, I started to get all these text messages. And it just completely baffled me, because when you self-publish a book and you're you're working your hardest to do what God told you to do, you never expect this type of promotion or publicity up front. You're always waiting to feel like, okay, I have to do so much work. I have to work so hard. But I truly believe that God sees all of our efforts, and that God just catapulted me and sent this book to the appropriate people in order to get it the notoriety that it deserves, because this is truly God's work. It's not me. It's better than me.
Yes, I completely agree. Because, I mean, first of all, how did Rob Kardashian even get it in his hands? Who knows? And then, you know, Khloe to talk about, that was just amazing. I was blown away too. But, so this book is also translated into Spanish. Now, was the first one too, or no?
No, the first one I did not. The second one is actually my parents. I was in Mexico, and I was telling my parents that I was thinking about translating it to Spanish. And you know, when you start to put things into the universe listens and it responds right back. So we actually went next door to my grandmother's house, because my parents have a house next door to my grandparents' house in Mexico. And all of my cousins were excited because they all have Snapchat except for me. I didn't have Snapchat. No idea. They're the ones who told me. They're showing me the video. And they're like, Elvira, like, you know, we love this and we want to read it, but we don't fully read English well. And so then my mom was like, Elvira, we have to do it. And so she encouraged me. She encouraged me to find an editor and to translate it. And we did that. It took, you know, some work for me after to edit it and, you know, really present it in the way that I want to. But now it's out, and I feel very, very fortunate, because I'm sure you know, more people in this world speak Spanish than English. So I'm tapping into a huge market. And so I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I think that, you know, I think we want to affect as many people as we possibly can, because we both line up with the fact that we would like to motivate and inspire people. We don't want to bring people down. We want to motivate them, inspire them. My thing is, I just want everyone to be happy. And I think that if you read this book, you could be halfway there. I'm just saying. And I'm not getting paid. When I tell you the book was good, ask anybody, when's the last time I read a book like that you hold? I do audiobooks for everything. So for the fact that I read the book page by page on a flight that I could have been sleeping on is just amazing. So that tells you it was a good book. So please, 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 everyone go and get the book. And I'll make sure we have the information. But they can buy the book on your website, right? And they can buy it on Amazon, right?
Yeah, Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, eBay, everywhere online.
Yes. Awesome. And we'll make sure that we have that. I'll put a link in on my website right now. If you're watching the show on my website, you see some links below. We'll put that link also below there to purchase the book directly. Now, you and I both want to have talk shows. So Elvira has a show, and it's on WCOBM.TV, which reaches, what'd you say, 7 million people?
Yes.
Yes, so it's huge. Last week was her first week. She had Darren Henson and Gabe Rowland. Is that his name?
Yes.
I don't know how I got that, but it just came. And, then, and I unfortunately today I only heard Raina, who I was actually blessed to meet when I was in LA last year with you. I saw Raina with the questions, because she takes some questions from the audience like I do. And so I missed the two guests today, but I know it was two females. So who did you have today?
We had Michelle Epps and Yanitza Munoz.
So she does half the show in English and half in Spanish, you guys. So it's really neat to watch. I actually watched probably about 15 minutes in Spanish, because since I came late, I just left it on. But definitely check out her show. But so tell me, how did that happen? Because all I know is I was in LA in February, and then a couple months later, you're like, okay, I'm shooting my pilot. I'm like, what? And she had a live studio audience. She got a very big person to executive produce it. You know, I love my executive producer, who happens to share the last name as me, my dear sister Alicia Matthews. But, you know, you had this big name producer. So how did you do all that?
It's really about the topic that I discussed today on my show, is that thoughts are powerful. Whatever you meditate on, whatever you focus your mind on is going to manifest. So I had filmed the pilot at UCLA in April, and I had been pitching to shows like NBC, ABC, Fox, thinking that was going to be the right way, because that's the only thing that I knew, that my mentors taught me. never thinking that God had a bigger and better opportunity for me. So when I was in Mexico on vacation with my parents and I was seeing all my family, I get a weird phone number on my phone. And because I don't have any bill collectors, I answer. So I was like, hello? This might be money. And it was a huge opportunity. It was the executives from WCOBM TV. They told me that they had been watching me and that they had over 7 million viewers on their network and that they would love to have me on. And so I said that this is fantastic. I said, but can I also do my show in Spanish? Because I want to also reach that market. And Dr. Renee, I had never thought about that before. It was nothing that crossed my mind. But you know how when God just takes over you, and I think maybe because I was in Mexico, I was seeing what the potential was there and the need for them to also know what their purpose is, that it just came out. And she said, Elvira, for you, we'll do anything. We just want you to be on this network. And so we had a meeting as soon as I got back to LA. We set the first date and we got started. So I definitely believe it's God's intervention. It's divine order, because now instead of reaching people on an NBC or ABC just in the United States, where they have to watch me on TV, now I'm able to reach people in over 20 countries that the network reaches, over 7 million people, which, you know, an average TV show like The Real or Ellen, at max, they're at 3.5 to 5 million viewers. And so I felt that this was such a blessing, and I just jumped at the opportunity. And so here we are.
Awesome. That is amazing. But yeah, so definitely everyone check out her show. It's on Tuesdays from 2 to, help me, 2 to 3 p.m. Pacific time. And then, so that is 4 o'clock Central and 5 o'clock Eastern. So check it out. It is great. And it's just like this show. It's just trying to help you to be a better you. So Elvira, how, I just have to ask this. So, because you are the coolest and one of the most down-to-earth people. And I mean, most of the people I know in LA, you know, because I'm not going to deal with Hollywood people. So, the people I know, right, exactly. The people I know in LA are very cool people. But how do you, because you're surrounded by these people with all this money and influence, how do you stay humble and stay true to yourself?
First of all, it starts with my parents. My parents are very well off, and I was raised with a nanny. And they always taught me to respect the nanny just like I would respect them, and to respect my teachers just like I would respect them and their employees. So when you're brought up with this sense of humbleness, or your parents are telling you, you ain't got no money, we do, you know that you can't act out of character. And so, to be honest with you, this is just the way that I was raised. So it doesn't matter if I work with Steve Harvey or Lionsgate or the owner of Metro PCS. Elvira Guzman will always be the same. It doesn't matter how many titles or how much education I have. If there's an older person that needs to sit down and I have a seat, I will let them sit. If there's an older person that needs a cup of water, a cup of coffee, or for me to order their food, I'm not too big for that. So I definitely praise my parents for teaching me to be humble and to just serve people, because we're nobody and money is nothing. God doesn't care about that.
Exactly. So where are you, like, what do you see in the future for your show?
Wow. Well, my dream has always been to do a TV show for just 10 years. Dr. Renee, you've known me for a while. This was never something that was a dream of mine. This is just something that God told me I needed to do, because only 10% of people read books. And so I'm trying to do my book in TV. I'm trying to do my book in film. I'm trying to do my book in speaking engagements. Any way that I can get the message out, I'm here as a servant of God. So whatever I have to do, I'm here.
I understand. It makes perfect sense. And that's true. I mean, unfortunately, people are not reading like they used to. Shoot, look at the poor magazine industry. So, and newspapers. So video is everything. And so if you can get on and get people to listen, then, you know, that's where you can affect change. Now, how did you start going into the juvenile halls and those places?
Well, it's interesting. I was asked by one of my clients to be on a show called Basketball Wives on VH1. And immediately I said no, because I don't want to be associated with any negativity or any women fighting. But he assured me that our segment would be positive and that he was going to highlight me in a positive way, because he was going to be doing a presentation to Shawnee O'Neal, and he wanted me to be the main person because I've helped him with all of his tours. And so, me being incredibly shy, I finally said, okay, I'll do it. And so once the show aired, I got a tweet. This is the amazingness of social media, from one of my prior friends from high school. And she happened to be a person who worked at the juvenile hall in downtown LA. And she said she's seen me on the show and if I would like to be a speaker. And so I said, absolutely. I had never done it. And to be honest with you, I was really, really scared. I was petrified because I had never gone into a jail system like that to speak. I didn't know what I was going to encounter. She did tell me a few things to be alarmed about, like, you know, there's going to be guards with all of the girls. You will not do one-on-ones because they could be too close in contact to attack me. Several different things that perhaps if this wasn't my purpose, I would have been like, oh no, I don't want to do that.
Right, scare you off.
Yeah, but because this is my purpose, I said no problem. And the good thing is I'm a black belt in karate. I can just block all these shots. and I agreed to do it. And that's really the beginning of my journey to give back. Because once I spoke to those girls, it was almost when I walked in, they were talking and chit-chatting amongst themselves. And I would never think that these girls were from the ages of 12 to 17. They had tattoos on their necks of their pimps' names. They just looked defeated. They looked not happy. They looked sad. As a matter of fact, when I walked in, a lot of their heads were on the table because they didn't even want to hear me, because I hear them. Like, I understand, like, what could this girl come here and tell me to change my life? 85% of the girls in juvenile hall are in there for human trafficking. And when I asked, like, okay, well, where are their parents? They're like, honey, that's who actually makes them work, because they were a product of that, and their moms don't even know who the dads are, or sometimes the fathers are their pimps and they're sleeping with the daughters. And so their sense of reality is upside down, and they don't even know what's good or what's bad. And so what really, really struck me is that once I spoke, I told them the worst of me that I don't share on these type of shows or on any other things, because I wanted them to know that I'm not better than them. We all go through negative things in our lives, and I wanted them to know that if I could get out of where I was, that they could get out of where they are. And so the story that I shared with them, which I'll share with you because you know my story, is that my parents were in jail when I was from 14 to my college years, and I don't quite remember because my memory doesn't allow me to, because there was so much pain. And during that time, I had to steal. I had to lie to people and not tell them where my parents were, in fear of them judging me, in fear of them saying, I don't want to be your friend. And I felt just terrible, and I would get in bad relationships, abusive relationships, just to feel some sense of love. And so once I shared my story with them, I started to see their heads rise from the tables, and I started to get their attention. And that's when they started to listen, that if I could get out of there, then they could get out of where they're at and go to a positive place. And since then, what I've done is I've taken tons of executives to the juvenile hall to speak, but not only to speak and share their stories, but to also give them an out, so that way once they're released, they don't have to go back to that line of work, that they could actually call my friend at NBC that could get them a job at Universal Studios. It doesn't matter about their record, it doesn't matter about their age, that they'll get them in, so that way they can provide themselves with an income, so that they don't have to work 20 to 30 times a day and not even make a quarter of what they're working. And so that's why that's how I got started working or speaking at the juvenile hall systems, and that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I know that all of these girls, it wasn't a choice. It's not like they want to do this. It's something that they're forced to do, and they have no idea about another life. And so I definitely feel that it's my mission in life to go in there and to help them awaken, to show them, hey, this could be your past. This doesn't have to be forever.
That's so true. So true. And so needed, because I think that's a lot of the problem with even the violence here in Chicago, is that these children don't understand that there is something beyond your block. Some of those kids have never even been to downtown Chicago, and downtown Chicago's like less than 3 miles away, but they've never been. So they don't even know what exists outside of their block. So that's good that you're exposing them, because I think that when you know better, you do better. And if you only see what's on TV, then you probably don't know, 3/4 of what's going on in the world, because it's behind the scenes. There's a whole lot of people that made that happen. And those people are usually the ones making more money too. So,
yeah, I definitely agree.
So it's great to listen to the albums, but it's really the people behind the scenes that are usually cashing the bigger checks. But, It's so important. So important for the children. And I'm so glad that you do that, because that's awesome. Because you do have some really, some clients that have a name enough that really could affect, one of those children. They'd be like, wait a minute, he went through that or she went through that. So that's really cool. So,
yeah, and even if they're not my clients, Dr. Renee, I also reach out to them to make a change. I learned of the story of Danny Trejo, that he was in and out of jail until the age of 36. And he was actually in San Quentin, where they would allow them to box other inmates. And so once he was released, he decided he didn't want to go back there. And he started to mentor and help the youth out here who were in gangs, who are addicted to drugs. And from that, a producer actually overheard one of his conversations where he was helping one of his mentees basically not kill himself. And that's how he got his first role in Hollywood. So when I hear of good stories in Hollywood that could definitely impact the youth, because a lot of people would think, oh, well, if I'm in and out of jail until I'm 30 or 20 or 40, then my life is over. No, this man was in and out of jail until 36, and now he's a huge Hollywood star. He's a millionaire. So it's very important for me to seek out these celebrities who have the story that could definitely change these guys' lives.
Definitely. So what made you become an entrepreneur?
I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad when I was 20 years old. And I realized then that I wasn't going to work for the rest of my life to make somebody else rich. That if I was going to work as hard as I was, which I was working 16 to 18-hour days, that it was going to be for me, so that way I could eventually one day give, teach, speak, write like I'm doing now. So for me, it was absolutely necessary, because my parents never had bosses. They were bosses. They had employees. So I always knew that I could never have someone telling me what to do for too long before I was like, I don't like that. I never seen nobody tell my parents what to do or where to go or what time to wake up. So that wasn't something that I was used to. Had my parents had 9 to 5s, and maybe I would be accustomed to that life, but I wasn't trained that way.
I understand. So, working for Steve Harvey had to have been a very good gig. So how did you decide, okay, enough's enough, and break off?
When I started to see how much money he was making and how much I was making, and knowing how much I did to make him that money also, I was like, wait a second, this doesn't make no sense. Like, I need to do this on my own. And so I did. I started my first company when I was 22 years old, just 1 year out of USC. And I was tremendously successful. I was making more money than any of his employees, regardless if they were 20, 10, 15 years older than me. And I still worked with him because he didn't want to release me, even though I tried to resign at that moment. And I realized, wow, there is no limit. And I decided to finally resign after I helped him with the book, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, and I did all the publicity for it, because I was living in Atlanta, and I really did not enjoy living there. I wanted to move back to LA where there's beaches and fancy restaurants that I know people at, and of course my family. And so I wanted to come back home. And so it was definitely nothing personal. It was something that I said I need to go to grow. And by that time, I was already at a financial place where I didn't want to be at the radio station every day at 6. I didn't have to anymore. I did have to do that when I was younger, but that wasn't my circumstance.
That's awesome. And so how many years now have you had your own business?
11 years.
Wow.
Yeah, tell me about it. I can't even believe it. And when I think back, now story, it just astounds me that I decided to start a business so young. And to that, I could just give credit to my parents. I mean, when I was 7 years old, I was working for 2 of their companies. And I would make appointments at one. I would help over there with the shipping or deliveries. And so I'm just so grateful that I have that upbringing, because by the time I worked with Steve when I was 18, the reason I was able to rise so quickly in his company is because I already had about 7 years of experience of working at a high-level place with my parents with 2 companies. And then when they were gone, for those 4 years, I worked at Round Table Pizza doing the computers, helping scheduling the employees. So it wasn't like I was starting out at 18 being fresh, never had a job before. I went in there knowing exactly what I was doing, and I knew exactly what I needed to do to move up.
So at 14, when your life just completely changed, did you ever dream that this would be your life and you would be so impactful in so many other lives?
Absolutely not. I remember at that time, because I tried to commit suicide many times, I didn't even think that I would make it to 18. And then when I turned 18, I was like, oh, okay, let's shoot for 21. And those years were extremely difficult. And not only did I try to commit suicide, but I tried to get lost every minute that I could. So as soon as I was done working with Steve, no matter what time it was, I just wanted to drink, so that way I could not know who Elvira Guzman was, because my life was not good at that moment. My parents were in different states, at different jails. I didn't have a support system. I didn't feel like I had the family that I needed, and I would ask God all those questions. Now looking back, I realized that God did that to me so that I could build my strength, so that I could know that I could do everything and anything alone. I don't need parents to help me. It's nice to have them to help, but I don't need that any longer. And so I really thank God for that experience, because I feel that it made me who I am. And had my parents not gone to jail, I might be one of those snobby rich girls that never worked until she graduated college. And that's definitely not who I want to be.
That's cool. So, first of all, anybody, if you have any questions, you can type them in on YouTube. You can tweet them to me at Ask Dr. Renee, and we will. My executive producer, she'll get the questions to me. But I was gonna say the other thing. I forgot what I was gonna say. It was good too. It's old age. Oh, I know. So I know that one thing that you push is, you self-care. You make sure that you take time to vacation. So can you talk about what happened in your life that made you completely pivot and say, wait a minute, I'm working entirely too hard?
Absolutely. So I got very, very sick when I was about 26 years old. And this is actually one of the reasons why I needed to resign, because I had too much stress on me. I was running a full-time publicity company. I was in a relationship. I was trying to be a good daughter to my parents who were just released, trying to rekindle relationships with my family, and I just couldn't do it. So I got very, very sick, and I didn't know if I was going to live. I had to wait until my surgery to see if I was filled with cancer. And so during those 30 days up until my surgery, it was really an awakening for me. Because it was during those times that I asked myself, okay, Elvira, if God takes you, what did you do to help others? What are you leaving on this earth? How can people learn or benefit from you being here? And that's when I said, okay, I can no longer do this. I cannot work 18-hour days, having so much stress and feeling not compensated enough. And for me, compensated means, Elvira, I've seen you working very, very hard. Take a vacation. Or Elvira, you helped me make so many millions on this book. Here's a little something so you can put it aside so you don't have to worry. So I didn't have that. So my mind was consistently like, build, make more, do more. It didn't matter if my body was tired. My mind would force me to keep going. And so that experience, and thank God, after the surgery, they removed the cyst and it was benign. And I had complications for the next 2 to 3 years. But thank God I just took my last test. I am completely cancer-free cells, and I'm so, so healthy. And the only thing I could accredit that to is my new lifestyle. So now instead of waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, prepping for the morning show, and, going to work and working 18-hour shifts, sometimes I wouldn't eat, I wouldn't drink water, I wouldn't communicate with family, and then going to sleep with sometimes my makeup on because I would be so exhausted. Instead, now I wake up when God wakes me up. I don't have an alarm clock for what? Like, I pay myself. I don't need to wake up. And so as soon as I wake up, I'm like, okay, great. Thank you, Lord, for giving me this day. Please allow me to help people. I get dressed. I go to the mountains. I hike and I pray. I have amazing lunch. I come back to the office. I do my work. When I'm done, I go to the spa. I go to a favorite restaurant. I do all those nice things. So now I feel that it's no wonder I finally reached my ideal weight. It's no wonder I finally reached my ideal health. And I have healthy relationships. Before, I would have missed family vacations. I would have missed phone calls from family members because I'd be like, oh, I'm in the studio during an interview. How dare they call me? They're so inconsiderate. Not thinking that they're just trying to call me to connect, to talk to me, to see how I am. But because I was so stressed, I've seen that as a hindrance. And so I literally had to shift upside down. And the person who helped me is Gina Holland. She was the top executive at BET when I worked for BET to do Comic View back when I was, 18, 19 years old. It just so happens that one of my best friends, she's best friends with her mother. And so when I went to Jamaica to her wedding, I seen her and I was like, oh my God, Gina! And then I was embarrassed because I was wearing a bathing suit. I was like, no, you're an executive. I remember you. I don't want you to see me like this. She's like, it's okay. I'm wearing a bathing suit too. Because, it's hard to see executives like in the other light versus them being your boss. And so during that week in Jamaica, I see her sitting, in a nice restaurant. Because, there's a ton of restaurants. And she was like, Elvira, come here. And I was so nervous. Like, at that time, I was already 31, but I was still so nervous to speak to her because she was such a big influence on me. And she said, tell me about your day. And I told her my day. She was like, no. She's like, you need to flip it. She's like, you need to do you first. And I was like, no way. I can never go hiking in the morning because I have all these emails and I have all these things I have to do and people are calling me. She's like, no. She's like, you're going to never reach your success until you put yourself first. She was like, go hiking first, feed yourself, and then operate from a full tank versus operating from an empty tank. And so that's when I switched it up because for me, I used to do everybody else's stuff first. Clients, friends, mentees, all that stuff. And then I would put myself last. And then I would say, well, if I have time, I'll work out. If I have time, I'll go to the spa. Now there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I have to have Elvira time because if not, none of this is going to work. So that's really what propelled me to change was Gina. So I definitely suggest all of your viewers to please get mentors. Listen to people, even though you feel that it's crazy, just try it because it could change your world like it changed mine.
Yeah, definitely. It's so important to take care of yourself because you just never know what, could be lurking. Like I said, my guest, my friend Regine died. She, maybe there were signs telling her, but actually she was in optimum health when this all happened, which was so strange. She had just lost a ton of weight. Looked amazing. So, I don't know. But, it's very important that you listen to your body and you, put yourself first. And if you have to, because I know some moms say they have to wake up a little bit earlier to be able to get that workout in or to be able to do that meditation. And if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. And you probably thank yourself later for it. A lot of people recently, we've had a lot of discussions with me and my friends about how we feel so great, we'll be fine. But no, you need to take care of your body now. So all that stuff, do it now so that 50 years from now, you did it, you put in the work. So then you have nothing to worry about. And you don't have to go to 10 different doctors for all these different ailments because you took care of your temple when you had everything working. There's no excuse. If all your limbs work, then there's no excuse for you not to move. Not everyone has to go to the gym. It could be so much as getting out of your bed and on the next to your bed, doing whatever, doing a quick workout. I'm in a burpees challenge right now. I have 100 burpees to do tonight. God bless me. But, but
I'm not there yet.
But yeah, I mean, do what you have to do. I did a push-up challenge where I was doing push-ups every night. So these things didn't require a gym. But it's me moving. It's getting my heart rate going. Today I walked to the grocery store because it was a nice day outside. And it's like, why get in a car? Walk. So I walked. So, just little things. These little things are very important. And I think entrepreneurs particularly, especially, do not take care of themselves because they're so busy. Everything is so important to the business, to get the business going, to make sure that they have money, to make sure they have money to pay their employees. And, so as entrepreneurs, it's really, really, really important that you take time for yourself first because you only have one life. Like I said, this is not a dress rehearsal. And guess what? If you die, what's going to happen to the business then? So therefore, it's better you take care of yourself so then you can be there for your business. And sleep is very important too. A lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, sleep is very important. They've done a lot of studies that tie weight loss and sleep. People who don't sleep as much tend to weigh more. So it's really good to try and get at least 6 to 8 hours. You don't have, I understand not everyone can get 8 hours every night, but if you can get at least somewhere in there, then you're doing okay. What would you tell, because I know you have several mentees like I do, what do you tell them if they say to you after they hear you talk, maybe it's one of the students at USC and they say, that they're interested in going into PR. What do you say to them?
I would say first, they need to work for either a television or radio station, and that they need to either work in their morning show or one of their top-rated shows, so that way they can build their contacts. So that every single celebrity that comes in, they not only get the publicist, but the manager, the agent, any contact that you could get, because as you know, we never leave the industry, but we change clients, we change shows, we change systems. So at any given time, I could text one of my friends and be like, hey, what about your client, blah, blah, blah. They'll be like, no, but I have these people. I'll be like, oh, fantastic. And so I definitely say that you need to build your contacts, because a publicist with no contacts is just a writer. And so that's not what's needed. You need to know people in order to make it in this industry.
Now, I try to preach to all my mentees, and I don't care what field they're going into, but life is about relationships, is it not?
Definitely. Absolutely. And you have to take the time. I mean, I know there's so many times when I'm at my computer or at a meeting or whatever working hard, and I get all of these text messages from friends that are in the industry. It doesn't matter if you answer them when you get home or a few days from them, answer them. Because they don't understand that maybe you might be in meetings, or that you might be working on a document that's taking you, a week to do, and you can't lose your focus, and you have your phone on silent, and you don't even see those things. Some people take it personal. And so it's very, very important that you reach out when you can, and that you're nice, and that, first of all, you don't give people advice when they're not asking for it, and you don't pressure them to meet with them. Because I know, like, you know what it is. If I contact my friend, I'm like, hey girl, I want to hang out. And she's like, oh my gosh, I have to go to London with this client, then I have to go to New York. But when I get back, like, I definitely want to meet. Amazing, let's do that. Once you get back, I don't want to stress you out. Let's schedule something then, so that way you don't have to feel so much pressure. Because I definitely understand that there's some people, right now in my journey, I feel like I've put in my hours. So now I have the ability on certain days to just go to the beach all day, or to just go shopping all day, or to just go to the mountains and write all day. Some of my friends don't have that ability yet because they're still working their way up. And I have to respect that. I can't say, let's go to happy hour at 3 if they're still in the studio working with one of their new clients. I have to understand, and I have to give them the grace that my friends gave me back in the day.
What do you say to these young people about networking? Because, I've tried to, I literally just spoke a week ago. I spoke to high schoolers, and they were like, well, how did you do this? How did you, I said, really it was networking. And they were like, you make it sound so simple. I go, really, it's not that hard. But I think that these children are so tech savvy that they really don't know how to have interpersonal skills.
Yeah, networking is absolutely important. I don't do this anymore because thank God once you get to a certain level, you don't have to work as hard. But when I was in my 20s and 18, 19, I was at every single event that I could get to. I was trying to meet as many influential people as possible for meetings or coffees or teas or lunches. And one of my rules that I give to my mentees is that when you go to an event, you are not allowed to leave until you've gotten at least 5 business cards. Yeah. And so what that does is it makes them step out of their comfort zone, and they kind of feel like, okay, this is what I have to do. And I also teach them how to spot out the important people in the room, because you don't need to network with everybody. You definitely need to network with the influential people. So I teach them those skills.
Yeah, that is true. You need to figure out who are the right people, and that's through good research. So if someone said to you, I'd like to write a book, what would you suggest to them?
Well, that's a loaded question. First, I would say, where do you want to publish it? Where do you want to distribute? Who do you want to affect? Why do you have this feeling? Because not everyone who gets the thought to write a book is called to write a book. Because there's a lot of people that want to write books to have a certain type of prestige or be put at a different level, but God didn't call you to do that. So first I would say, is this what your gift is? And if they can honestly say yes, then I will teach them. And that's something that I do through my company, that within one meeting, I could teach you the structure, I could teach you how to do it, and all I have to do is go to editing sessions and help them out with it.
Awesome. Yeah, it's more than a notion, and if you want a big publisher, then I was actually listening to the audiobook of Exponential Living, which is one of my former guests, Sherry Riley's book, and she said that she had been working on her book for 7 years before she got her publishing deal, and that means she had proposal after proposal after proposal that kept getting rejected by the publisher. So yeah, so that it's very, very, very important that you know exactly what it is you want to do, why you want to do it, because it can be a very taxing, process. It's not something that blink of an eye and it's done.
Absolutely. And if it's not something that is in your blueprint or is in your soul to do, you're going to quit halfway through the book. You're going to be such a doubter that it doesn't matter if you get the best publicist like me. Your thoughts are going to block you from getting the best results. I mean, there's tons of times when people have come to my company and they say that they want to hire me for 3 months. First of all, 3 months publicity is nothing to do publicity for a book, because you're supposed to do that before you even launch a product. But they think 3 months of publicity, their book is going to be #1. They're going to be on Oprah and Steve Harvey and Ellen. That is a fallacy. If you are truly intended to do this, you need to do this for the long haul and not have such high expectations and do what you're supposed to do. And if your book is truly genuine and from the soul, word of mouth will kick in and your book is going to be successful with or without a publicist.
Where do you see the Elvira brand going from here?
Wow, well, I want to have my show for 10 years. And I also want to get on radio. I want to turn my book into a film. I eventually hope that, my dreams are to have so much money that I'm able to just give it on my TV show. So eventually, once I get that budget, I want people to write in if they were recently diagnosed with cancer and they have to leave their job for 6 months, but they don't have a savings account, and I can just write them a check. Or if they want to start their first church, but God gave them the calling and they've been a mechanic their whole life and they don't have money. I want to have enough money to buy them their first church once I feel that, okay, you've read the Bible, you've done your due diligence, and now I know you're going to be successful. Now here's the blessing. I want to be able to do that. Dr. Renee, you know that I don't have children and my parents are great. I don't have to provide for them. So every single thing, money, dollar, anything that I get, 100% of it is going to go right back to the people, because when I leave here, I don't plan to leave anything to any of my family. I plan to give it all away, because thank God they're all good.
That's good. So what is your, I mean, I know you get up and you thank God. So do you have any affirmations that you say every day? I see on the chalkboard behind you, it says trust love. But, but do you have any affirmations that you say? Like, I personally, most people don't know, but people who've come to my place know, on the back of my door, there is an affirmation that I say every time I'm walking out the door. And it's basically, it's something from The Secret. And that's what I read it off. I don't care how many times I open the door that day. I read it off every time I leave the door. And then in the morning, I've talked about it before. I recite the prayer of Jabez. I recite that every morning before I get out of bed. And then one of my big sisters, Tracy Vincent, blessed me with a prayer about, maybe it was in February. She blessed me with this prayer via text. She just typed up this prayer. It's 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph is a Bible verse, and the other 3 she came up with. And I literally say that prayer every morning and every night. So every morning, I say prayer Jabez in that prayer, and then at night, I say my prayers, Our Father, and then the Lord's Prayer, and then I say that one, and I go to bed. So do you have an affirmation ritual, something like that?
Absolutely. Part of my ritual, like I mentioned before, is going to the mountains. And what I do is on the way up to the mountain, I'm reciting all of the prayers that I know. So Our Fathers, Just Judge, all of them are in Spanish. I'm not too sure of the translations. But I say these prayers over and over and over again. And what that does, it kind of puts me like in a trance where I'm just fully in God. Because at the beginning, you still have those negative thoughts that are in your mind. But as soon as I'm like on the 5th or 6th prayer, all those thoughts are gone. And I'm just in the prayer mode. And I'm just looking down. And I actually use the mountain as a metaphor of my life. Because sometimes when God gives you your purpose, it's almost like looking at a huge mountain. And it almost seems like it's impossible to get to the top of the mountain. However, if you just focus on each step, and I look down and I'm just focusing on that instead of looking up and saying, oh my God, I have so much more to go. How am I going to do it? I'm already tired. I don't even think about that. I look down, I look just at my perimeters, and I say those prayers. Once I get to the top of the mountain, there's this one specific rock that's at the very top. I put my hands up and I say, thank you, Lord, for allowing me to get here today. Thank you for giving me the help to get here. Please allow me to identify the one person that I'm supposed to help today. And please allow me to return tomorrow because I just want to give you praise. And on the way down from the mountain, once I'm completely in that energy space and that frequency, I say, Lord, speak to me. Is there anything that you want me to know for today that I haven't paid attention to? Please tell me. And I start hearing God speak to me. And it's almost like God speaks to me in my heart. And I start saying, okay, I got it. Okay, I could do that. I could be better this way. I could help this person by doing this. Okay, and it's almost like a communication with me and God on the way down from the mountain. And then I have this one particular tree that I absolutely love where I do my meditation and I do my stillness practice. And during that time, it's almost like God is speaking to me again, but now through nature versus words in my heart. And I feel this sense of calmness. So once I leave there, I feel like, okay, no matter if someone writes me a terrible email, texts me something really bad because they're having a bad day and it has nothing to do with me, I'm not going to immediately like say blah, 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 or this or this or that, because I'm already in that elevated energy space that I cannot allow nothing can hurt me. And throughout the day, once I get back to the normal world and my phone starts to go off and, all the chaos and you see people honking and being just negative, what I do is I listen to inspirational videos on YouTube in my car. And it's just like the audios where I could listen and I don't have to watch the video. And I listen to that the whole way there because what I found is that when I listen to radio, those songs bring me down. And the energy and frequency that they were created, it does not match my energy anymore. And so I have to continuously stay in that state. And now let's say, for instance, if I'm getting to a meeting and the person is completely negative and they leave to the bathroom, the first thing that I do is I start to pray. And I say, Lord, please help me to have patience. Please help me to be an example for them so that way they do not act that way. They do not exude that type of energy. And then all around my house, like you, I have positive affirmations. Like you can't see this, but this is something that I have that I wrote in my book. And it says, trust in God is the only thing that alleviates suffering. And I put this in my office because many times I find myself suffering here because I feel like, God, why am I working, this long? Or why am I having to work on this project? Or blah, 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 whatever it is in order to get the money I need for my purpose. I just turn around and I look at my board, and it's true. God will alleviate all suffering. And another quote I have is, deal with your pain so you don't have to live it. And so that's another affirmation that I always have, because it's inevitable that people are going to hurt us. It's inevitable that people are going to try and bring us down because they see us so happy. And so one thing that I say is that I have to deal with the pain. If someone tells me something negative, it hurts. I'm not made of wood. I'm real. I have blood in my veins. It hurts me, but I'm not going to show that person that it hurt me. I'm going to deal with it, and I'm going to forgive them, and I'm going to move forward. So to me, my whole life is a prayer. My whole life is a communication with God now. I couldn't say this when I was 25, 26, because back then I was suffering. Dr. Renee, I remember when I would cry myself to sleep. I was in chaotic relationships that I wouldn't get out of by choice, because I felt so bad about myself and about life. I just wanted someone to love me. That now, because I found God, because I found my purpose, I know that I don't have to put up with anything bad, because like how God says in the Bible, God does not hurt. God is not going to betray you. God is not going to put you down. So if anyone in our lives are giving us that type of energy, immediately we have to know that that's the enemy, and we have to cut them off. Because just like there's good, there's also evil. And whenever the enemy knows that we're doing something for God, which are things like you and I, we're doing these shows to help other people. This is not to fulfill us. This is to fulfill our purpose for God. There's going to be those bad energies, the bad wishes on us, and we have to stay prayed up. And so I pray from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, because it's something that I need in order to stay strong.
Very important. So everyone, all her contacts to find her are right below her picture. And also, you can also go to the elviraguzmanshow.com as well. And like I said, WCOBM.TV every Tuesday, 2 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Eastern, to catch her show. And if you need her services, that website is there, lvgpr.com. I highly recommend her. She is amazing. She's worked with the best of the best, and she works with anyone, so you don't have to be some big name. As long as you can pay her, she'll work with you. And she believes in what you're doing. She, like me, I'm very selective about who I work with, too. We just, you got to line up with what we're doing, and it's got to be something positive, because we're not trying to have any kind of negative forces around us. So as long as it's something positive that she can push, she will do it. So next week we have Ramon Ray, who I had the pleasure of seeing speak at Blogalicious this year in Atlanta. He was amazing and captivated the audience in such a way that I was like, let me run out and meet him outside. So I did, and told him about my show. And he actually was talking about content creation and was encouraging people to get YouTube channels. And it was funny because most of the people in the room did not have a channel. And then here I had a channel and a show. He's like, oh, you're ahead of the game. So he's amazing. And he's going to be on the show next week. So I'm really excited about that. And then the following week, we have Sister Scientist Erica Douglas, who is amazing in her own right. She's a Chicagoan. And she is actually the woman behind a lot of the beauty brands that we use for our hair. She has been the chemist that created these chemicals to put into the shampoos and stuff for different brands. So she'll tell us all about that. So I will see you guys next week, same time, same place. Everyone, this is Holy Week for me, and I know for Elvira as well. This is Holy Week. Please, please, please enjoy your time with your family and your friends. Have a happy Easter, and I will see you next week. Bye. Just wave until the show. Tell us what to do. We're good? Hold on. Sure, she said it. Bye now. Oh, sissy,